Wonderful, wonderful to be here at the Virtual Happiness Fest 2020. In the rubric of happiness at work, and I am Eve Simon, the facilitator of this call today, and holding the space for an amazing group of free consultants all over the world who just published a book about purpose. And purpose is a topic which is right now in really every conversation, in personal life and of course also in the business life. So we want to explore how purpose is really driving business, but especially how is purpose related to happiness and how is that spreading the love. We had the fortune to end right away on the bestseller list in the category of ethics, of business ethics. So this is a really interesting way to look at the things. I love to open, first of all, the conversation to get to know you a little bit, and please share shortly, your name, where you're from, what you're passionate about, and maybe shortly an intro of what is purpose for you. Shall we start with our lady in the room, Erika?
Thank you very much, Eve, and thanks for the opportunity to be here with you and our wonderful colleagues. Erika Kleestoffer, I'm a consultant, a coach, a lecturer in Vienna. I love to work around the topic of leadership. I teach also at university. I work with organizations and individuals. And my main goal is to really bring people home back to their true selves, who they truly are, so that they can work out of that space of, I would say, creativity, power, and that also has to do with purpose for me. Purpose for me means being aligned inside yourself so that you really work out and live out of your true self. And very often, I think we are conditioned to show a specific facade, and we think this is socially expected, and very often we are not really working out of our core. So I love the topic. I love the topic. I love if people are happy, and if I can contribute to more happiness and peace on this earth, I'm happy.
That is a fabulous start. Thank you so much, Erika. Let's continue with Frederick.
Hi, thank you for being here, and hi all of you. So Frederick, I'm a Swede living in Prague. I have 15, almost 20 years of corporate experience, and now for the last 5 years or so I work with leadership development. And my passion is really about the integration of self, a bit like Erika said, about coming home to who you are and owning all aspects of yourself, and then also having the courage to go out there and live it, which is very closely connected to purpose, which will be the purpose of this call.
Great, thank you so much. From Vienna to Prague to the area around London. Graham, would you like to continue?
Yeah, I'm really, really happy to be here, and thank you very much for inviting me. So my name is Graham Bird. I'm living not near London actually, but about an hour west of London. I spend no time in the UK. I travel all around the world actually now, doing this wonderful work of working with leaders in large organisations around the world around this subject of purpose. And purpose to me is about being aligned to something very important to yourself, being deeply aligned with a clear sense of values. And actually it's about service. To me, it's about service to the world, helping to make a happier planet.
I love that. Thank you so much. And then we have Hans here.
Good morning, Eve, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our ideas and thoughts on purpose. Hello, everyone. I'm in Amsterdam at the moment, and I'm very passionate about connecting people with themselves and also connecting to people, talking about my own purpose. Because it helps people to live their dream. as I try to live my dream as well. And with that, contributing to a better world. I love working with teams and help them grow their leadership.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And we continue with Jean-Christophe.
Yes, good morning, Eve. Thank you also for inviting me. So my name is Jean-Christophe Normand. I'm based in France, in Nantes. For those of you that don't know exactly where Nantes is, you just go south of Paris, follow the Loire Valley, and you end up close to the sea. It's a place where I've been only in recent years. I grew up in Paris. I'm a coach, facilitator. I teach also in a Catholic university. My path in coaching and facilitation has led me to do a lot of work myself on the question of purpose and looking into the question of how would I define purpose. I think purpose for me is trying to express in an ever more authentic way the gratitude that we have for life and the love that we have received. And I think in my work, that's clearly what I try to let emerge in the people that I work with.
I love that, the topic of gratitude. Thank you. And we have Arthur.
Yeah, thank you. It's so nice to be on this topic, happiness. It's great that we could talk about the happiness nowadays. My name is Arthur Chernenko. I'm based in Latvia, and in the past I'm a banker. Last 5 years dedicated myself towards the helping others in the leadership development, in the communication in the team, in the growth and the flourishing of the companies they're working in. And it's so great to hear, like, how do we describe the purpose, each of us? It's different aspects of it. In my view, it's a connection, it's a listening skill, listening ability, listening to others, but not least listening to the self, listening and understanding self, acting from the space of a deep listening. Looking forward for this discussion.
This is so profound because in our busy world, the virtue of listening is really not so much available anymore. Thank you for bringing this out. And then we have, last but not least at all, we have Andrew here. And as many of us are in Europe, Andrew got up really early for this call, which we really, really appreciate. So would you share, where are you right now?
I'm Andrew Cohn. I'm based in the Philadelphia area, a few hours south of New York City. Actually, I just stayed up. It was easier. No, it's got a bit earlier. And grateful to be on the call, grateful to be with you, to learn from you. My work for the past 23 years or so has been helping leaders and teams align around their purpose, identify their purpose, and address the challenges and problems that they need to address in their responsibilities as leaders and their responsibilities as parents, as colleagues, individually, team, community, organization, planet. So, I mean, once we open up this can of purpose, there's so many areas and where this is needed, this conversation is needed, and I'm grateful to be part of the conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So many of you already shared a little bit of your purpose, and it was interesting because even everyone saw it as a really driving force forward with an effect to ourselves and others. It's all very individual, and that is also really seen in this book, where you share your very, very personal story. How you found your purpose, how purpose found you, how it affects you. So before we dive into the correlation of work, I want to shortly stay on this very, very personal perspective of purpose. And maybe you share how for you is purpose really related to happiness in your life, or even is it, right? How is it enriching your life in this way? And who would like to go first?
I can start.
Okay, Erica, and then Graham. Great, thank you.
I mean, you know, when we talk about leadership, we usually say it's leadership from the inside out, and that is also true for myself. So so how do I lead myself? And for me, it was core, actually, as I said before, to identify actually who am I truly? Who am I without all those professional facades, conditioning? And I grew up in a world that was very performance driven and performance orientated. And so I thought only if I get appreciation from outside, then I'm worth something. And what I could discover is that actually I find everything inside myself. And so for me, it was really, as I said before, it was a coming home and this connection to myself, and that I'm not dependent on others, but that I can give myself actually everything. And this is what I do also with leaders, you know. So if I'm not clear inside, how can I give clarity to others? If I'm not stable inside, how can I give stability to others? So for me, the journey starts within. And yeah, so I think this is the beginning for everything. And the same is for organizations, you know. So if they're not passionate about or clear about their purpose, if they're not clear about what they stand for and so on, it's difficult to let their light shine.
Yeah, absolutely. So for a while before we go into the bigger picture, we stay on the personal side, as you really address something so important. It really starts with us, right? And how do you see it, Graham?
I think if we put our attention on ourselves, you know, if we link leadership and purpose, if our leadership is only about ourselves, in other words, what we can achieve ourselves, we never find happiness because we're always looking for the next thing, right? So to me, when you turn your attention inside and start looking, what can you give rather than what can you take? To me, that brings then a sense of satisfaction that I never experienced before. So paying attention to serving, as I mentioned earlier on, I think service is key to this. When you feel that you're serving for something bigger than yourself, that you're giving to the world, there's a deep sense of satisfaction for that. Sure, you know, life's still challenging, of course it is, you know, but it just gives a different level of, to me, a different level of satisfaction to what I do, whether it's working with people, whether it's with my kids, with my family, with my colleagues. I try now to focus on what I can give rather than what I can get. And that, to me, brings me, I wouldn't call it necessarily happiness. I think happiness is fleeting, but, you know, it brings me a level of contentment that I've not experienced in the past.
Contentment is a great word. Also in relation, right? Where's happiness? Where's contentment? Beginning and ending. So we started from this, and you talked about, okay, the correlation of there's something bigger than us and how we are related, and that brings a lot of satisfaction. Hans, I am super curious. How did you find your purpose?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking that question, because to me it was particularly listening to my surrounding, picking up the signals that others gave me for a couple of years already, saying, hey, Hans, when you are doing this leadership work, then your eyes are shining. And when you do the work that is the primary part of your job, being a partner at a big consultancy firm, then your eyes are not shining. Then I feel heaviness instead of happiness. And it took a while because I'm very loyal. And I think some of the audience will recognize that feeling that you don't want to let loose of what you have and don't want to be disloyal to your surroundings, to your context, to your environment, the people around you. But I did. So it caused a lot of pain, and it cost me a lot of tears, but it made me feel happier than I ever was, and still am. And it's now 14 years ago.
We
So
see that on,
that
on
I
your
took.
face. Wow. It's really almost the purpose found you, right? You didn't have to find
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah.
And if you were ready to say yes, then the channel opened up for this really happy giving.
Yeah.
I like to shift now the perspective of purpose, and Erica mentioned it shortly, also to leadership, right? Purpose, leadership, and happiness. And Frederick, you were a leader before, so you can talk really out of your own experience for so many years in top roles. And now with the Oxford Leadership Network, you work in high top environments. What is your thought on that? Purpose, leadership, happiness.
Well, I think to answer that, I think it's useful to first think about a human perspective. And I strongly believe that all humans are inherently good and want to do good. And all the examples of the opposite of that we see in the world are really defense mechanisms or coping mechanisms for how to deal with the context people are in right now. But if you can guide people back to who they truly are, I think everybody is good inherently and they want to do good somehow. And if you then put that in a sort of corporate context or leadership context, I think the most important work you can do as a leader to facilitate humans being good and doing good in the work context is to consciously work on your own self-awareness. Because that is the gateway to connecting to who you truly are and connecting to what's good inside you and how can that serve the community that you're in. And I think another buzzword we talk a lot about today is engagement. And it's a beautiful word, but not a very actionable word. You know, how do you do that then? And I think engagement really comes down to a couple of simple principles which have been popularized by Daniel Pink lately around having purpose, having autonomy, and then mastery. Deep human drivers, which connects back to what I said before about humans are good and want to do good. So I think as a leader, trying to create a purpose-driven organization is really about understanding who you are, what drives you, allow that to be expressed in the organization, how you engage with teams, and then enable other people to create. Because when you enable other people to create, you give space for their purpose, you allow them to develop their mastery, and you give them autonomy within that space to bring the best of themselves.
Amazing, amazing. So many great topics in that. I want to pick out especially one which I hear in that has also to do with compassion, right? The love of compassion to ourselves and others, and really finding this connection within, deep in us, to see the good in ourselves and others. And I would like to give the word to Jean-Christophe. As you also mentioned, the sidestep to teaching in a more Christian environment or a spiritual environment, and of course also doing the work in corporate and with a lot of leaders. What is for you this tendency of compassion, love, belief, whatever comes up, and the relation to that with happiness and purpose?
I think I can build on what Erica was saying a few minutes earlier, saying about if you're not stable within yourself, you know, how can you be stable for others? And compassion has a lot, I think, to do with this. Compassion starts with having compassion for yourself. If I go back to the early stages of my life, I was really, really lucky in the sense that I had the opportunity to travel, to have wonderful experiences. But I lacked, for many years, a kind of confidence in myself And so I was really, really hard on myself. I lacked compassion, and that, I think, created an issue in terms of being able to be compassionate with others, and to be therefore open to what the world had to come, had to offer. And this has taken me a long time to work upon. And one of the major events that really opened myself to compassion, gratitude, and love was not just moving into the consultancy and teaching field, but more importantly, something even more important that happened for me is I'm a deacon in the Catholic Church, and I was ordained so 6 years ago, and it took me 7 years to come to terms with that decision. 7 years of thinking of how I was going to face this, and those 7 years enabled me to do a lot of work on self-confidence that I had, and on my capacity to be compassionate about not just the world at large and how well we do our job, but also compassionate about the people that I'm linked with, that I either when I'm as a teacher or when I'm as a coach or when I'm just simply a facilitator. To be compassionate is to be careful to make sure that you're always giving the best of yourself, whatever the circumstances, that you're always trying to put forward with the best amount of love, the talents that you have that have been given to you.
Great, great. Deep. Thank you so much. I like actually to give the word to Arthur. Also on the perspective of a younger generation, because what you hear out a lot is now the younger generation is more driven by looking for purpose and giving purpose, and also rather to step up and say, hey, stop, not so far, and then I really take this leap and go almost in an activist state of being. What is your thought on that one?
Yeah, I think two words which are coming to my to my mind here on this topic is responsibility and a long term. This two words, strangely enough, are connected with the purpose and the leadership for the younger generation, especially. Because when we are looking at the short-term perspective, then we can acknowledge and can take the responsibilities which are written in the books, which are others demanding from us, either parents or the leaders at work, or the managers at work. We are fulfilling this type of responsibilities, but it's ending up that in long term it's not sustainable. Sooner or later, the one might start feeling that actually it's not fulfilling me anymore. I don't feel this happiness and courage to continue to carry out the responsibility I have taken. And then you start turning and looking for, okay, where else could I find the best description of my responsibility as a leader? Reading different books, going into different type of courses, seminars, and so on and so forth. And sooner or later, you might just acknowledge that the answer is within yourself. And when you turn introspectively the focus and look for what is actually waiting for you to be taken care of, what is that responsibility, which is something that we tend to call purpose. And when you get a connection to this, then it starts being kind of the nuclear power for you, which gives an energy for quite a long term. And you could, I mean, once you get this experience yourself as a leader, you start thinking that actually it's not so scary to give this type of opportunity to your subordinates, to your people around you. You don't need to control so much, but you can give a space. It's not harmful. It's actually leading to the good for the person, for your personnel, for yourself, and for the company in the end of the end as well.
Mm. Yeah, that's it connects a lot what we heard before, as you can let go, right? Let go of control. You mentioned Frederick was talking about autonomy, and Andrew and I, we work a lot in Silicon Valley, right? We know how dynamic environments can be and how different leadership can be if you go more into the open space, into self-organization. And Andrew, maybe you can speak a little bit around this topic of purpose in companies, right? The purpose of how companies are driven by that, and how not just leaders, but the whole organization really shows up differently as you work in the old economy, in the new economy. You can see that very much. What is your insight on that?
I think at the end of the day, we all want to come to work and know that we're contributing to something meaningful, that we're using our gifts in a way, our gifts, our skills, our abilities, our experience in a way that's going to build something, that's going to contribute to something positive, whatever that might be. It doesn't necessarily need to mean that we're working directly with Mother Teresa. We could be working to develop a chip or make tires or glass or whatever it might be. But there's what we're creating, and then there's how we're creating it. And from these activities, we derive meaning, and a sense of meaning. And I think that's an important word for this conversation.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we want to be at work. We want to know that what we're doing is meaningful. And that is true with respect to, as I said, what it is that we're making, what's our product, how we're working together on the interpersonal level, which is an ever increasingly important aspect of leadership, even as we become more digital. We're human beings working in a digital world. And I think as human beings, we're wired for connection, which means that as we become more digital, there's even a more important role that leadership plays to remain connected, to keep people connected, so that that part of us that thrives on connection can continue to be nourished. And that's an important responsibility that leaders have. So we've been talking about the individual level, the interpersonal level, and the results level of business itself. And leaders have a responsibility to facilitate growth and results on all three of those levels. And we cannot do that for others if we haven't done it for ourselves. The greatest ability we can offer others is the ability to hold presence and hold space. I'm getting into the territory of Jean-Christophe and what deacons and the like do, is that holding that precious space for people. And again, the more digital we become, the more I believe at times we can become starved for that sense of presence and encouragement and nurturing and inspiration. And all of those words, as soft as they may sound, are extremely practical and connect to results in business, because business is about what people do and what people do together. Yeah, absolutely. So it's also the connection which brought us together, the connection of having that purpose to transform leaders for good. And you all probably have a favorite or worked with a favorite. What is your favorite company who is really driven by purpose and where you see people happier through that? And just let's take a circle. Hans, what one company, one leader comes into your mind?
Well, that's actually a Dutch company focused on working in the Netherlands. The leader is Tom, and what I like very much about him is that he so much shows his inner self to all his people. He's always open and vulnerable, and he's a great example to his full staff. A company of 170 people by now. That gives such a wave from himself into the team around him, this whole organization, and into his clients. His clients love working with him and with that company just because of that.
Yeah, it's really showing great results. Erica, who's your favorite? Which company?
Well, I just thought about it. It's difficult to name one company, because for me, it's mainly the leader who makes a difference in his department or team. And so I have one guy in mind. He's actually a young leader, but one of the best I've ever seen. He leads a quite big team in the financial industry. And what I really like about him is it's his passion. It's really, so what he stands about, so what he stands for as a leader. So he's very clear about what he stands for, what he allows, what he fosters, but also what he doesn't want to see in the team. So his clarity, although sometimes it's tough, gives orientation and also focus and direction for his people. And I think what he sees more and more is that people apply, especially to work for him. And I think this is the best sign you can, or feedback you can get, because his behavior radiates outside. So he is very clear, however, very appreciative on the individual, on the interrelational level, yeah, interpersonal level.
Beautiful, thank you. And Frederick, your favorite?
Yes, I kind of going on the line of Ulrika as well. There's a lot of companies out there, but for me, I'm kind of preoccupied with this idea of pockets of enlightenment. So it's not necessarily about, you know, the one company that's totally purpose-driven, but rather in all types of companies, there are pockets of enlightenment with leaders who have, for lack of a better word, seen the light and realized that there's different ways of doing things within the structure. And I'm going to apply that with my team. And then if we do good, maybe we can inspire other departments to do good. And eventually we inspire the company to do good. So I'm thinking of one guy who, when I talked to him, now we get into the conversation, but in the beginning when I asked him, so what's your purpose? He said, I have no clue. And I think that's often the case. People that do a lot of good stuff, they don't really necessarily stop and think about purpose and articulate their purpose. But when you dig deeper in that conversation, there is an energy inside them that is driving them. And they haven't maybe taken the time to articulate it, but it's very clear. There is a purpose. There's a gift that they have they want to serve. I think the reason this guy is very successful is that he is repeatedly focusing on two things in his communication. One is he's very clear on the vision. So he has a perspective of the future. What does the future look like? He has a perspective on how can his team fit into this future. And he's telling that story in a very engaging way. So his people say, yes, I want to be part of this journey where our team comes to this place where we fit into this bigger picture. And the second thing he does very well is that he's very clear on values. So how are we going to get there? What are the behaviors that are going to allow us to move closer to this vision that we together have articulated and moved into? And I think that's really what excites me. These pockets of enlightenment out in the organization that is doing it their way and inspiring other parts of the organization to join them.
Yeah. And you already tackled one thing. You gave us ideas about being clear about the vision. And let's bring it now into personal perspective again and sharing your best practice. How do you live your purpose, and what is your happiness, the little thing you do every day to live that up? And Graham, what are you doing to make yourself happy every day and living on purpose? One second, we have to unmute you.
I was a little bit disappointed not to answer the last question, but I'll answer this one next. But I just want to make one thing to establish one point. You know, purpose to me is about, we can all have a purpose of, you know, I just kind of want to take. My purpose is to make as much money as I can, or my company to have the biggest company in the world, or whatever it might be. To me, that's not the purpose we're talking about. We're talking about a purpose here that serves the world. That gives to the world, that creates something beyond just the product or the product that they make. So I just wanted to make that point. To me, it's about really what I said a few moments ago. I get my sense of satisfaction in helping other people to find their sense of purpose. My experience is that when, as Frederick mentioned, you ask people, senior leaders of organizations, what's your purpose? And they can't answer the question, what's the purpose of your leadership? They can't really answer it. They haven't answered that question before or been asked it before. But equally, when they do start to do this deep work, and Hans mentioned about, I think he said something about letting it come, purpose finding you rather than you finding it. So to me, I gain my satisfaction from helping people to go really deep and asking this big question of themselves. What is it that gives my life a deep sense of meaning? And they always, when they reach some form of answer, and it's not always clear at first, of course, but they start to realize that it is about giving to others, whether it's their family, whether it's their colleagues. It's always about the satisfaction they derive from serving in some way. Mm-hmm. And that is when I think when they form their breakthrough, and that certainly was my breakthrough. When I sensed that, or when I found that, helping people to do this work and seeing the satisfaction. And Eve, we were together this week and we had some of this yesterday when people were coming to us and saying, thanks so much for helping me, on this journey. To me, that's what it's about. That's where I gain my real pleasure, when people have some form of breakthrough in discovering their own sense of meaning. Maybe we don't call it purpose for many people because that's a deep subject, but when they connect to something inside of themselves that's been dormant for many, many years, that to me is where I gain my sense of satisfaction. And of course, what it's doing for me is helping me to grow as an individual and understand myself more and better.
Great. So we have a couple minutes left, and I really want to leave the audience with just short little tricks. So each of you have popcorn style 30 seconds. What are you doing to be happy every day? I give lots of kisses to my daughter. Erica, what are you doing?
Well, for me, it's gratitude. So really being thankful for everything in my life, but mainly also myself. As Graham said, it's about serving, and I can only serve if I'm full inside. So I really ask myself, what do I need right now to be happy, to be fulfilled, to have clarity? So I always bring it back to myself, ask myself, and also think about, where do I put my attention to? Do I put it to abundance, all the abundance in my life, or scarcity?
Well, these are so many good tips. Do you have a gratitude journal, or how you practice gratitude?
Yes, every morning or in the evening, it depends, but it takes 1, 2, 3 minutes, but you write down what you're grateful for. And especially, and I think this is what I learned, usually I was grateful to everyone outside, but again, also it starts with myself. It starts with compassion, self-love, appreciating myself. And then you're really full, and then it overflows to everything else.
Great, thank you. Andrew, what is your practice a day to lift up your mood and happiness?
Listening is the word that comes to mind for me. Listening to others, listening to myself, to what situations or circumstances have brought me happiness and meaning. Journaling is helpful for that. Meditation is extremely helpful for that. I think that at the end of the day, beneath the physical and emotional and mental levels that we all operate in, is a deeper spiritual self level that we need to connect with, and that's where meaning resides. And so whatever it is for us, exercise, yoga is a way of connecting that for me.
Just one. We are in popcorn style.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. So much to say.
I know you all have so much to give, and I just want to be really cautious around your time. I know there are so many great things, but what I really take out is the gift of listening, right? The power of going from the mindset, I know everything, to learning. Listening is a great attitude. Hans, what's your one practice which makes you happy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think you can guess. The key word there is connection. Connection first with myself. Check every day inside, what do I need and what will I bring to this world today? And then connect to others, connect to the people around me. That's absolutely it.
Great, thank you. Jean-Christophe.
I think for me, it would be holding great and powerful conversations like the one we're holding now.
Conversations. Very powerful, and really be present in these conversations, right? That's what I see with you. Yeah. Frederick.
Well, we talked a lot about happiness without really defining what it is. And for me, in my practice, I find that happiness for me is a combination of joy and fulfillment. We must have both to feel happiness. We cannot do with only joy, or we cannot do with only fulfillment. So for me, my practice is making sure that I have both elements during my day, and all of it starts with connecting with myself. And my method of that is really connection to nature. Ground myself in nature. And if I for some reason cannot go to nature, it's exercise in any form.
Nature and exercise. Wonderful, great. And Arthur, your practice.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to answer it as one practice, but let me pick one. Walking with a dog. That's my mindful practice, something which connects me with the nature, gives me an exercise, and gives me a stillness inside it, because I could be with myself. After rushing, doing something, acting, I'll just switch off and let everything go for a few minutes.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Our time is slowly coming to an end.
Could I have my popcorn?
Oh, yes, you did, but more to share. Absolutely. Please, Graham.
So it's just my one method. Absolutely, without a doubt, being present and intentional with myself. And what that means, I'm with Erica on this practice of meditation every single day. And gratitude made a massive shift in my happiness, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, because it starts with practicing it, right? And then we get closer to stay in alignment with our purpose. We talked a lot around consciousness and this driver of, even it starts within. We talked a lot about purpose starts within and how we ripple it out. It's always directed into the outside. Where does it bring meaning? How can we be in service? And I already can see this is a really, really wide topic, but I love to thank you all for sharing your personal story in the Purpose Book to inspire others to really, first of all, to think about what is my purpose and how can I bring my gifts out to the world. And thank you for being here and spreading your insights, how also corporations can integrate that topic on purpose and what big impact it has in satisfaction and contentment and joy and fulfillment for everyone involved in the business world, all shareholders involved. So thank you so much. And all around the world, right, to the US, to within Europe here, I wish you all a great day and look forward to see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Eve.
Thank you, Eve.
Thank you all.
Say the word, I'll take my medicine. You're the cure for any pain I'm in.
see the people live with them trouble, y'all. Dancing, I don't see the people live with them trouble, y'all. Oh, 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 hey.
Cherish life today, cherish life today, only one way. The fight against coronavirus is putting us to the test. All it takes is a simple choice that makes the difference between life and death. Let's do our best to stay healthy every day, so we can help each other keep sickness away. Yeah, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Oh, there's one way we know. Do it with our neighbors round the world. It's one way, one way, one world, one world. Social distancing we say to keep the virus at bay. It's one way, one way, one world, one world. Keep your hands clean. It involves you and me. Tell it go away. One way. One way. One way. One way. Well, we might be apart, we're connected. Even if for now it's good we stay isolated. The more we join in and share this challenge together, there's no storm that we can't weather. Let's do our best to stay healthy every day, so we can help each other keep sickness away. Yeah, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Oh, there's one way we know. Do it with our neighbors round the world. It's one way, one way, one world, one world. Social distancing we say to keep the virus at bay. It's one way, one way, one world, one world. Keep your hands clean. It involves you and me. Tell it go away. One way, one way, one way, one way, one way, one way. Cherish our life. There's one way, one word. Ooh yeah, one way, one word. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dancing, I don't see the people live with them trouble, y'all. Dancing, I don't see the people live with them trouble, y'all. Oh, 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 hey.
Pasamos la mayor parte de nuestras horas en el trabajo y aún así a la mayoría no les agrada. Investigaciones recientes concluyen que solo 1 de cada 5 personas se siente satisfechas con su trabajo. Increíblemente, podemos pasar días, semanas, meses y hasta años en un trabajo que no nos satisface. Frente a esta realidad, yo veo siempre 2 opciones. Una, continuar con ese trabajo porque es lo que hay y porque es lo que estoy obligado a hacer. O la otra opción, renunciar a ese trabajo. Déjame decirte hoy una cosa. Ninguna de esas 2 opciones son la solución. Ninguno de estos 2 caminos resuelve tu situación. Porque no siempre se trata del trabajo en sí mismo, sino de la perspectiva que tú tienes sobre ese trabajo. Permíteme y te explico de qué te estoy hablando con un ejemplo al referirme a la perspectiva. Estira tus brazos, tal como yo lo estoy haciendo en este momento, hacia adelante y con las palmas de tus manos mirando hacia ti. Vamos acá. ¿Qué ves? Entonces yo ahora miro mi oficina, mi estudio, mis libros, mis luces. Ahora vamos a doblar los codos y vamos a acercarla mucho más hasta tocar la nariz. ¿Ahora qué ves? Bueno, lo mismo pasa con tus pensamientos. A veces solo vemos lo que queremos ver. Acá veo muy poco. Yo acá no veo en perspectiva. Y este ejemplo básicamente yo te lo traigo porque si tú atribuyes la responsabilidad de lo que pasa a factores fuera de tu alcance, como las decisiones de los demás, lo que esperan los otros o lo que quieren los otros de mí, entonces tengo lo que los psicólogos llamamos un locus de control externo. ¿Esto qué quiere decir? Que tú estás sintiendo permanentemente que no eres dueño de tu vida. Sientes que son los otros quienes deciden por ti y que tú básicamente no tienes las riendas de tu vida. ¿Te sientes identificado? Ahora bien, si te centras en lo que tú puedes hacer y sabes que tú eres el responsable, eso hará que te sientas más comprometido contigo mismo a la hora de tomar decisiones, bien sea la de quedarte en tu empresa o la de renunciar, pero considerando todas las variables. Lo más valioso cuando das un paso bajo estas condiciones es que ante todo, eres consciente de que los resultados que obtendrás dependerán de lo que tú haces, solo y exclusivamente de lo que tú haces. Y es eso precisamente lo que te llevará a movilizarte. A mis 40 años creía que tenía todo controlado. Un gran empleo, estatus, reconocimiento, títulos, dinero, la vida con la que muchas personas soñarían. Pero nadie sabía lo que pasaba en mi intimidad. Mi reloj despertador sonaba a las 3:30 de la mañana cada día. Sentía que aquel ruido hacía parte de un sueño, de aquellos donde pedimos mentalmente un poco más de tiempo. Una parte autoritaria de mi cerebro me decía, no puedes tener más tiempo, recuerda que tienes obligaciones, ya párate. De la nada yo me levantaba de mi cama, pero otra voz, esta vez la de mi corazón, me decía, descansa, puedes hacerlo, mereces un momento más para ti. Mi gran preocupación para ese momento era mi imagen exterior, que mi ropa luciera impecable y que, por supuesto, mis zapatos y la cartera hicieron juego con mi vestido y mi gran abrigo de marca y de lujo. Que en lo verdaderamente trascendental. Mis días, ¿saben cómo se pasaban mis días? Tratando de responder 200 correos, atender docenas de reuniones, proyectos, compromisos. Sin darme cuenta, habían cumplido 20 años desempeñando cargos directivos y gerenciales en el servicio público de mi país, Colombia, pensando que de eso se trataba el éxito y la felicidad, pero solo hacia afuera. Tenía a mi cargo cientos de colaboradores y me ocupaba conscientemente de su bienestar. Yo iba mucho más allá de todos esos programas que desde el área de bienestar social se imparten muchas veces por ley. Recuerdo especialmente detalles como un mensaje especial el día de su cumpleaños a cada uno, conversaciones con cada uno de ellos para conocer un poco más sobre su vida y su familia. Les recuerdo que eran cientos. algo muy especial, y es que había una llamada infaltable el 31 de diciembre, 1 a 1, eran horas invertidas. O la reunión con mi equipo más cercano todos los viernes en la oficina durante 30 minutos y nos compartíamos anécdotas graciosas de la semana. Ese era uno de los mejores momentos para mí. O, por ejemplo, que tuvieran a tiempo sus contratos laborales, así eso implicara sacrificar inclusive mis vacaciones. En fin, fueron tantos momentos y detalles que van más allá del dinero. Mi mayor deseo fue mejorar las condiciones emocionales de los colaboradores, viéndolos ante todo como personas, con sueños, con dolores. Pero llegaba la noche y me encontraba sola en aquella gran oficina, porque simplemente me sentía obligada a hacerlo. Aplacé muchos proyectos, como casarme, tener un hijo o adoptar un perro. Pero una mañana del año 2016, algo pasó al mirarme al espejo del baño, mientras arreglaba mi hermoso cabello largo y me maquillaba de manera perfecta. ¿Saben qué descubrí en aquel espejo? Una mujer cansada, sin brillo en sus ojos, sin entusiasmo. En realidad, una mujer que no se sentía feliz con su trabajo. Era una mujer llena de títulos y a la vez muy ignorante. Ignoraba mi cuerpo, ignoraba las señales físicas que me daba mi entorno, ignoraba mi familia, ignoraba mis amigos. En conclusión, ignoraba mi vida. ¿Para qué tantos títulos? ¿Para qué tantos reconocimientos? ¿Para qué tantas medallas, diplomas? Se ignoraba lo más valioso, a mí misma y a la esencia de mi vida. Ya te hablé de los dos caminos que tiene. Pues bien, yo opté por el segundo. Sí, así como lo oyes. Di el paso y presenté mi carta de renuncia. Yo recuerdo aquella mañana mis manos temblaban, mi corazón latía más fuerte que nunca. Creo que sostuve la carta en mis manos por varios minutos antes de entregarla al área correspondiente, y por eso la hoja inclusive ya tenía mis marcas de las huellas de mis manos sudorosas. La entregué y suspiré. Sentía que ese era un gran paso. Sabía que nada volvería a ser igual. Y fue cierto. Luego de esa decisión tuve que empezar de nuevo. Ojo, dije de nuevo, no de cero. Porque el momento decisivo puede ser el peor momento de tu día. Puede ser el peor día de tu vida. Pasé varios meses sumida en una profunda tristeza al verme sin nada entre las manos. Y no me preocupaba tanto el tema del dinero. Lo que me frustraba era no tener una dirección clara en mi vida. Saber que mis amigos se fueron. Sé que para mi familia también fue duro verme en esa condición. Pero yo sí tenía claro algo. ¿Saben qué? Que la decisión que había tomado era la acertada. Yo no quería volver atrás, porque fue una decisión que tomé con perspectiva. Pero un día, ¿saben qué? Me paré y me dije, nadie va a vivir la vida por mí. Dejé de pensar en lo mal que me sentía por cómo puedo cambiarlo. Llena de fe en mí misma e inspirada en mi madre, que fue mi mayor ejemplo de fortaleza. Y digo fue porque desafortunadamente viví de niña la experiencia de ver cómo a mi madre le daban 3 disparos y moría en mis brazos. Ese momento tan doloroso me sirvió para forjar mi carácter y convertirme en la mujer de la que hoy me siento orgullosa. Porque cada dificultad lleva la semilla de algo bueno. Dentro de cada uno de nosotros habita el deseo de hacer algo grande. Si quedé viva en ese momento del asesinato de mi madre, es para dejar una huella y marcar una diferencia en este mundo. Te recuerdo algo. Nuestra exigencia es pasajera, muy pasajera. Nos creemos personas eternas. Nuestro tiempo de vida es insignificante comparada con el tiempo del universo. Solo 0.5 segundos dura nuestra vida comparada con el tiempo del universo. Recuerda que el tiempo no se acaba, pero tu vida sí. Y esta única vida que tenemos no la deberíamos malgastar siendo infelices en el trabajo. Todos, absolutamente todos, estamos donde estamos por las decisiones que hemos tomado. Podemos estancarnos pensando en que no lo he hecho bien, o progresar o tomar la decisión de actuar. Tú, y hoy te reto, ¿tú quieres un cambio? Si quieres, hazlo. pero hazlo ya, porque todo cambio requiere acción. Si tú no eres feliz en tu trabajo, ¿qué esperas para tomar acción? Gracias.